most of the civic engagement in this city today is taking place around major redevelopment sites. And the largest of these sites is an area called Assembly Square, which is an immense 146-acre site on the Mystic River. You will perhaps remember that movie too, and the Boston City line. It is the only remaining open space in the city, and it's ideally suited for both commerce, given its proximity to Boston, its highway accessibility to the entire region, and also for attractive new residential and recreational process, since in spite of the movie and in spite of how it looks now, the Mystic River could be a pretty lovely setting for housing. From 1926 to 1958, an enormous Ford Motor plant, assembly plant, occupied Assembly Square, just the name. It was the Edsel plant, and some of you older people will remember what happened to the Edsel, and that's what happened to the assembly plant. So over the next decade, the Assembly Square was operated by a variety of failing industries, all of which had closed by the 1970s. And in 1980, an urban renewal plan called to establish Assembly Square Mall. By the late 1990s, the mall was deteriorating, the stores were empty, and in 1999, IKEA, the internationally known Swedish furniture store, for reasons that I haven't learned yet, bought a large plot on the river and planned to build a store there. Somerville city officials and local civil society activists, people that I'm studying, agree that the development or redevelopment of this area is very important to the revitalization economic of Somerville. Both of those parties, state and non-state actors, see that there needs to be a much more commercial tax base. I understand you have the same issue here in Buffalo, where the major revenue comes from property taxes, residential property taxes. So they're agreed about that. However, active residents want to avoid an all big box store environment. They want to emphasize not only commercial, but also residential. They want to create a new neighborhood here. They want sufficient public transportation because, as you can see a little bit, there are already major highways. Tufts University School of Public Health has a major study going on in this area of air pollution for the residents. So this is already a highly trafficked and air polluted area. And the residents also want to provide some green space, which, as you saw from the earlier picture with the little squares of gardens, is very precious indeed in Somerville. So there are some areas of agreement and disagreement. Residents also want to protect low-income, working class, and new immigrant residents who live in the area near the square, which you can't see very well in the picture, and make sure that the jobs and the housing here is going to benefit people who already live there rather than driving them out of the city, some of which has already happened. So active residents really want an authoritative voice in public decisions about the square's redevelopment. And the voluntary association that has been most involved in Assembly Square is called the Mystic Task Force, named for that river, obviously. In the summer of 1998, the Mystic Task Force convened with the explicit aim of shaping a public process for making decisions about the future of this area. This is a recent picture. This is what it still pretty much looks like. On May 22nd, 1999, the task force organized a community forum, something that voluntary associations, community-based, will often do first. And they called the community forum Somerville's Last Frontier, which this pretty much is, the last place to develop. And some 150 people showed up, including the city previous mayor. And out of this meeting came a vision for that area that included pedestrian mixed-use development, open green space, diverse high-quality jobs, and an estimated at that time over $30 million in new tax revenue for the city of Somerville. When city officials and the previous mayor failed to pay much attention to that resident-created vision, the Mystic Task Force joined with the Conservation Law Foundation to sue the city of Somerville for neglecting to require a strict permit process when it issued permits in year 2000 for a huge Home Depot store. And any of you who've been to Home Depot know how big those stores can be. In September 2002, a local court ruled in favor of the Mystic Task Force contention that the Somerville Planning Board had failed to call for public hearings, had failed to conduct traffic studies before issuing permits to build the store. In April 2003, the battle continues, with city officials trying still to convince active residents, particularly the Mystic Task Force, which of course now had some clout, having won this suit, that Assembly Square was big enough to accommodate both the Home Depot store and IKEA. Still involved. Residents were not convinced of this. They held firm. And so Mystic View Task Force sued again to prevent these big box stores, which they argued would generate more traffic, more pollution, and insufficient jobs for local residents.